Hey, Daniel, PJ, the last three full seasons, of course, 11-2, 9-4, 9-4. If I do the math, 29-10. It's one of the best records in the Big Ten over those three full seasons. Ethan Kalkimanis, as you mentioned, even though he's fairly inexperienced, got some really valuable playing time and then tore up the Wisconsin secondary to close out the regular season. But I'm seeing Minnesota completely disregarded in the Western Division race. All the talks, Wisconsin, a little bit of Iowa, and I've seen some wild card picks for Illinois. Is that simply people just saying Mo's gone and they got to play Michigan and Ohio State, so there's no way they're getting through that to win the West?
I think it's a schedule for me, but
yeah, it's definitely the schedule with the crossovers against Michigan and Ohio State. They got an early road non-conference game against North Carolina, which I think people automatically think that game's insurmountable, but I do think North Carolina has some vulnerabilities when it comes to up front. Offensive line really struggle. They're trying to figure out left tackle right now. I think South Carolina and North Carolina, that'll be a great game. South Carolina can definitely give them a run. Drake May last year, I thought when the pocket collapsed and he had interior push, he's holding that ball a long time. And defensively, they're at the bottom of like every single metric. They did a great job of bringing in transfer portal additions in their secondary. But I think that game is not totally insurmountable like people think. I think Minnesota, their style of play can give North Carolina some trouble. So I look at it as the start of the season is the key. Can't trip up in this game against Nebraska. I believe this will be a close one. It's going to come down to maybe being a one-score game at the end, possibly. You can't lose to, really any of those non-conference games. You got to be hopefully 4-1 or 5-0 to set yourself up in a position going into, you play Michigan bye week, and then you go to Iowa. And you're going to have to slay the dragon that is Iowa. They have not been able to beat Iowa under PJ Fleck, and now they, that's the next step for this program is trying to get over that hump.
We'll root for you in that one.
Oh, it's easy.
Don't worry.
I like Illinois, you guys. I think Illinois is being slept on. Their pass rush is very good. You got Gabe Akis, Seth Coleman on the outside. You got Johnny Newton and Keith Randolph coming back to get the best interior push. I guess their secondary's just got to come together. But when you have that good of a pass rush and an offensive line that I feel can be solid, Luke Altmaier taking over at quarterback, how does he do? I feel like they have pretty good personnel, and they can win up front.
I think they're a trap game for us. Illinois is.
I think they are for a lot of people.
Right? Yeah.
I think they can win the West. I wouldn't discount them at all.
They can be right up there.
Yep. Yeah. If may I ask you a question? Just my take on it, right? And it's been, I mean, this isn't just my take. It's been widely regarded that Nebraska really hasn't had an issue with out-athleting teams or out-talenting teams. And your take as far as what we're going to see personnel-wise on the field, talent-wise, do you think that Nebraska has the better athletes, or do you think Minnesota has the better athletes? Because obviously we know that, of course, not saying Fleck is necessarily a better coach in rule, but right now Fleck has a system in place. He's going to be the out-coached part of it, right? As far as personnel goes, what is your take on that?
From a numbers standpoint, so, athletic testing, the physical testing, PJ Fleck said this is the best team that he's had at Minnesota. Every year they've gotten better in that category. And you definitely see it when you're at the program watching practice going, okay, this is not what it was year one. You're in year 7. Every year I feel like it amps up a little bit more where they're able to pull players and develop them. They see the upside, and then they slowly get them in the strength program, work them up, develop. And now they're at that point where I feel like they're reaching the peak of where they can be athletically. They're really up front. They got a lot of length and quick twitch athleticism that can be moved all over the place. That's something to watch. I think the secondary is pretty fast. You got Tyler Nubin in the back end. I mean, he's going to be potentially a first-round pick next year. I look at Nebraska's secondary, though. I like the speed that they got in their secondary. I believe, in my opinion, Isaac Gifford's a key player for Nebraska. He is the X-factor player for the Huskers this year. In that scheme, you got to have a really good rover who can, blitz, can drop, play in the deep half, just do all the things that Tony White requires in his defensive scheme. I don't think Nebraska is that far off in their secondary. Hartzog's solid. Quentin Newsom's pretty good. Like, their secondary has some speed, athleticism. I guess that's how I view it. I don't know how you guys look at the Nebraska.
Well, I'll just say that, you know, for somebody that is around these guys now too, that I've seen a noted improvement on how physical these guys are. I'm talking about guys that have already been in the program before Matt Rule came in. And, you know, you mentioned Isaac Gifford, and, you know, I've been covering Isaac, for 8 years, and he's got new muscles on him now than I've never seen before. And that goes across the board, and you see the athletes that they have on defense. I mean, they have 5 guys in the secondary that are in black shirts. So that's got to tell you something right there. And, you know, the system that Matt Rule has been successful in, and he brings in a bunch of guys that have worked with him before. And, I mean, my God, these guys have all had 6,000 reps. I mean, meaningful reps just in fall camp. So if you don't think that Nebraska is physical, then, you know, you're sleeping a little bit, because they are uber physical right now.
Yeah. I think my take on the DB room is it's if not my favorite position group, my second favorite. But we really need that defensive line to take pressure off of them, because it doesn't matter how good our secondary is. If our defensive line is not getting anything to the quarterback, they're just going to be on an island out there, and somebody's going to get open. It's just, but we got to get pressure on the quarterback. So I agree with you to that extent, but they got to get that help that they've never had. And I don't feel like our DB room has ever been our biggest flaw. I just think
it's the D line.
It's been a whole lot of the defensive line. Yeah.
And I love what they have going on right there.
Yep.
You know, they are basically specializing in the pass rush.
I'm excited for Ty Robinson too.
Yeah, with the pieces.
He's going to be great.
And the versatility that they have, and the number of guys that are going to have coming off the edge and from all over the place. I think there's going to be a big step up in you know, the pass rush numbers and what you've been seeing lately in the last, you know, 3-4 years.
Well, and that's getting everybody involved in the pass rush. It's linebackers. You know, you're basically double barreling with the linebackers, the rover, the corners. Like, everybody's going to get involved in the pass rush.
You have 3 guys that could be starting at the jack position, and
we have 3 jacks, 2 rovers, right?
I'd be scared to have any one of those 3 guys coming at me. You know, and Chief Borders is a guy that's really sparked. You know, comes up getting a black shirt.
That was crazy. I didn't. Yeah.
And, you know, he has just been on every single day of fall camp. And
I figured he must have ascended, because I thought, you know, MJ Sherman. I thought, oh man, he's going to run away with this.
Right there too. Yeah, but I mean, Chief just a little bit more of that kind of guy that's there 100% every day.
Yep.
Where I'm not saying that MJ Sherman's not, because he's super talented too, and you're going to see him make a lot of plays as well. But there's a lot of guys there that are starters or have a black shirt, and there's a guy right on their heels.
Yep.
It's a week-to-week thing. Nothing's set in stone. You know, so you're going to see big-time battles. You know, Blaze Gunnarsson wins a black shirt, but Cam Linhart is a true freshman, is nipping on his heels, and could have easily had that black shirt too. So you got a lot of guys that, you know, Nebraska fans have not seen play a game yet that have really ascended into that type of, you know, attacking physical defense.
Yeah.
And is going to swarm to the ball every single play.
Well, to your point, like seeing some of these guys' development, like Tommy Hill was a liability. And then now he's a key piece, you know? So
I mean, it's so highly touted and kind of just lay an egg.
I was at that Oklahoma game, and I saw Tommy Hill just giving up on plays left and right. And now look at, you know,
let's move him over to wide receiver.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Exactly. And that's the thing too, is just like I think competition breeds excellence. And I don't think competition has been, I don't think the position groups have been up for competition in the past. And I think,
like I said, you know, hell, they have gone at it so hard every chance they get, that these guys have gone at it in fall camp, like to the extent that you have not seen under the previous 2 head coaching regimes.
I think if we're going to pull an upset here, it's going to be because these guys are just playing with a fire under them that we haven't seen before. And that's going to be, we have to do that. Like, that's going to be, it's just going to have to be the effort that wins this game for us, because
trying to put it all together for the first time, but that effort will come out and prevail.
I think starting fast is the key too, from my perspective, getting off to a quick start.
Really doesn't believe in that. He said it today. He does not believe in those words, starting off fast.
No,
really.
Nope.
If we could hand him a 20-0 lead, he wouldn't want it.
He said 17-0, he would be smiling still. Yeah,
right.
No, he said that those words came out of his mouth. Yeah.
Oh.
Daniel, being the numbers guy that you are, I'm going to take a shot that you, whether you put $1 down yourself on any of these games, that you are intrigued in point spreads. I would think you're such a numbers guy. Do you delve into the point spreads?
I look at them.
Games and goes and bats down in Ames.
No, I look at the spreads. I dabble in it.
Yeah. So my thought here is that I am fairly confident that Minnesota is going to win this game. Now, when I say that, I mean, I'm not going to be shocked if Nebraska wins the game. To Justin's earlier point, I think athletically, look at the recruiting rankings, look at the measurements. You talked about what PJ Fleck had to say about his team. You know, there is not a mismatch in one way or the other from an athletic standpoint. However, Justin made the comment about PJ having his system in now for his 7th season. They're playing at home, all those things. So I'm leaning heavily in Minnesota, but not by much. Like I'm confident that fairly confident they're going to win the game, but not by a lot, because shoot, if you're going to give me a touchdown, pretty much I'll take that across the board any game in the Big Ten Western Division and say, you know what, give me a touchdown for every game, and I'll probably win 75% of them. So I'm just thinking that the Gophers win, but probably give me a touchdown in Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, you look at all these Big Ten West games are close. I mean, for the most part, they're low scoring. People play good defense. I look at this one and go, it definitely could be a touchdown game. I still think it's a 1-score game, possibly, but I want to see the trenches. If Minnesota controls the line of scrimmage, then it's a totally different ball game. But I don't know. That's the unknown of this game, where I don't know what Nebraska is going to look like up front on both sides of the ball.
Nobody does.
I mean, that's the key to this game, because I think Minnesota definitely has the ability to be physical on both sides. Can Nebraska match that? That is the question that I have.
I think that's the biggest.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, that's the thing, is that you know what you're getting out of Minnesota. You don't know what you're getting out of Nebraska right now. So.
Exactly. That's why this is so hard to project. Like we can sit here, say, you know, 1 score either way, but it's just, there's no way for us to know anything until we see it on the field, just because Fleck does what he does so well. It's going to be really hard to disrupt that. And if we can, it's going to be a very good sign of things to come.
Yeah, you're just drinking the Nebraska Kool-Aid if you're thinking Nebraska's going to go in there and stomp Minnesota. I mean, it's just not the way things are going to happen.
Yep.
How do special teams look, you guys?
Hey, I think they're looking really good. I mean, with what we've heard the last couple of days, we heard from Ed Foley, special teams coordinator, yesterday, and Tristan Alvano, true freshman out of Omaha West Side, was named starting kicker today. Yep. And like I mentioned earlier, that Ramir Johnson, Emmett Johnson are going to be your duo kickoff return guys. And obviously, you know, Billy Camp's going to be your punt return guy. And no, they've got a plan. I mean, they have 3 different guys that can kick off. You know, Timmy Bleakroad, Tristan Alvano, and then your punter, or 3 guys that they can interchange according to the wind. And the thing that Ed Foley really loves right now too is that you know, he looks out there on his punt team, and like 9 out of the 11 guys are wearing black shirts on it. So you're going to see a lot of frontline players playing on the special teams. So I think special teams is definitely an area that you're going to see a marked improvement with Nebraska this year.
And I think, probably one of the reasons you've asked that question is because special teams was an afterthought for a while. We didn't even have a special teams coach.
No, you were just waiting for special teams to make a mistake and kill you.
Yeah, and we didn't even have a special team coach for the longest time. So I think just that and just having somebody focused who cares is going to make just a massive improvement, let alone the personnel and the fact that Matt Rule says like he said, starters. We're putting starters on special teams.
Yep.
Well, yeah, you look at last year, they were one of the worst teams in field position margin in the country last year. They were getting eviscerated, and all the studying that I've done, that is such a key factor, especially in these Big Ten games. If you want to win, you can't get destroyed in the field position battle. And last year, they were just awful in that category.
You can't beat yourself in the Big Ten, and that's what Minnesota and Iowa do well. They don't beat themselves a lot of times.
Yep.
Daniel, as you well know, Greg, Justin, and I sat here a couple weeks ago, and we went through basically key turnovers and special teams gaps, and we counted 6-7 games that they've blown in the last 3 years just on one play. And then we went through, and the last time that Nebraska was plus in the turnover ratio was the last time they had a winning record. Makes sense, right? 9-4 2016, last time they were on the positive end of that. Since then, they're negative 28.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to come down to field position, taking care of the ball, tackling, limiting explosive plays. The team that wins the explosive play battle is going to win the game. So I think that those things combined with being physical up front on both sides, that contributes to success.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you're thinking about, even in the kicking game, a couple of missed field goals, that's going to happen. But it's those big plays that you give up that are the ones that kill you.
I mean, look at the Oklahoma game when we scored and then they ran the extra point back in the year we played Oklahoma close in Oklahoma. And that just kills momentum right there. That was a close game. Yep. That was early on in the game. People don't point to that as the reason, but that very well could have been the whole reason we lose that game.
Yep.
So.
Well, folks, we appreciate you all being here for our Huskers Live show. And this one just had a little bit more juice to it because I think everybody just wants to watch football. And that's all there is to that. And we're only 48 hours away from kickoff. I love these Thursday games because it gets the weekend started with football and it spreads out the games in terms of I can watch more football when they're spread out through the entire weekend. So it gets no better than Labor Day weekend because it's from Thursday night all the way through Monday night. So Nebraska, the other part in this that we didn't touch on is kind of a nuance to it. Doesn't really matter in terms of results on the field, but Nebraska's got the spotlight, as does Minnesota. Just 2 big games on Thursday night. So more people are going to be watching Nebraska football than they typically do, because if you're watching college football, you're either going to watch Utah, Florida, or you're going to watch Minnesota, Nebraska, or you're probably going to try to watch both of them at the same time like I am. And there you go. So the spotlight's on for Matt Rule and his program this first time out.
Mark, it's 2023. Who doesn't have 2 TVs?
Exactly. Okay. I corrected myself.
Multi-view.
Yes, absolutely.
But overall,
I have 5 in my main room in my basement. So,
and I think it's great for college football fans and Big Ten fans because I honestly believe this is like the perfect matchup for both teams to start the season on. I just think it's a great matchup and it's going to be a lot of fun.